Emma walked through the metal doors of the academy workshop. The air was hot and smelled like burning coal and metal. Her boots made small sounds on the floor. She was early. No other students had arrived yet. The metalworking chamber was large. Windows at the top let in red light from the star outside. Long tables held tools and furnaces. Everything was clean and organized. Emma had never seen a workshop like this before. On her, humans made things by hand in small spaces. This was different. This was advanced. She chose a workspace near the back. Her hands were shaking a little. Emma was 17 years old and the only human in this class. She was one of only 3 humans in the entire academy. The other humans were older and studied different subjects. She had never felt so alone. Slowly, other students started to arrive. First came a tall with hard blue skin and 4 arms, moved like a warrior. His eyes looked at Emma and then looked away. They were known for their strength and their fighting skill. They did not think much of humans. That was clear from the way he ignored her. Next came a with soft purple skin and large eyes. Were scholars and scientists, walked carefully and looked at everything in the workshop with interest. He did not look at Emma at all. Then came Lyra. She was also but younger than she had bright yellow markings on her skin. When Lyra saw Emma, she smiled. The smile was small but real. The last to arrive was Instructor Vex. Vex was a crystalline being. His body was made of clear crystal that caught the light. Inside his body, colors moved and shifted. He was tall and thin and made soft sounds when he moved, like glass touching glass. His voice was calm and did not show emotion. "Welcome to advanced metalworking," Vex said. He stood at the front of the room. All the students turned to look at him. "I am Instructor Vex. You are here because you have shown basic skill in materials and design. This semester we will create real weapons, not toys, not practice items, real blades that can cut and kill." Emma felt her heart beat faster. She had worked with metal before on Earth. Her family had made tools, but she had never made a weapon before. Vex moved to the center of the room. He held up a blade made of silver metal. It was beautiful and perfect. Every edge was straight, every curve was smooth. "This blade was made by a crystalline master 500 years ago," Vex said. "It has never needed sharpening, it has never broken. This is what we try to create. Not this exact blade, but something that lasts, something that works." Raised one of his 4 arms. "Will we be using advanced materials, Instructor? Titanium, quantum-forged steel?" "No," Vex said. His voice did not change. "You will use what you are given. Some of you will work with metal, some with crystal, some with other materials. Your job is to understand your material, to learn its limits, to build something that works within those limits." Emma listened carefully. She was trying to understand what Vex wanted. She thought about the things humans made on Earth. Humans did not have advanced technology. Humans had to understand materials. They had to work within limits. Every tool a human made had to work or the human died. "Each of you will create 1 blade," Vex continued. "You will have 4 weeks. You will work alone. You will not ask other students for help. You will not look at other students' work. This is your creation. You must decide what material to use. You must decide your method. You must decide your design." Raised his hand. "What size must the blade be?" "Any size," Vex said. "But it must hold an edge. It must not break easily. It must have good balance. Those are the only rules." Emma was thinking. Most of the alien students had access to advanced materials and advanced tools. Humans did not. Emma did not have those things. She needed to think about what she could use. What could she find at the academy that would work? After Vex finished talking, the students could explore the workshop. Went straight to the advanced metal section. He picked up pieces of rare metal and looked at them with a eye for weapons. Went to the crystal storage. He was already thinking about shapes and light. Emma walked around slowly. She did not know what to do. The academy had everything: metal from 20 different worlds, crystal that was grown in special ways, materials that humans had never even heard of. Lyra came and stood next to her. "Do not worry," Lyra said quietly. "You can use any material here. You are a student now. You have access." "I know," Emma said, "but I do not know what to pick." "What did humans use?" Lyra asked. "Before advanced technology." Emma thought about this. "Bone," she said. "Metal from rocks, wood, we used what was there." Lyra nodded slowly. "That is interesting," she said. "Most students here have never worked with basic materials. Vex teaches that advanced materials do not matter, but we believe they do." Emma looked at Lyra. This was different. She was not looking down on Emma, she was listening. "I will use bone," Emma said suddenly. She knew this was right. Bone was from her world, hard places where things had to be strong to survive. Heard this, he made a sound like laughing. "Bone," he said. "You will fail, bone breaks. Bone is for primitive species." Emma did not answer him. She had heard this before. Humans were primitive. Humans could not compete with advanced species, but Emma knew something that did not. Anna, things had to work or you died. Humans had learned to make things that worked. "I need to find bone," Emma said to Lyra. Emma sat in the academy library. Her hands shook as she scrolled through old records. The screens showed images of ancient earth weapons and tools. Some were made from bone, some from stone, some from rough metal. These tools had cut and killed and built civilizations, and humans had made them without computers, without advanced technology. She found a video file labeled Traditional Bone Working Pre-Advanced Era. The file was 300 years old. A human woman on the screen was sharpening bone. Her hands moved in careful, practiced motions. The woman heated the bone over fire. She cooled it in water. She repeated this many times. "The bone becomes harder this way," the woman on the screen said in an old accent. "Each heating and cooling adds strength. This is why our ancestors survived. They understood what they had. They pushed materials to their limits." Emma watched the video 3 times. She took notes on paper. The academy used digital writing, but Emma wanted paper. She wanted to think the way humans thought. Slow, careful, physical. The next morning, Emma went to the academy's material storage. The keeper was a named Grant, were large and strong and usually quiet. Grant looked at Emma's request and did not ask questions. "You want to strip down bone?" Grant asked. "Yes," Emma said. "I need to remove all the soft tissue. I need just the hard material." Grant handed her the tools. They were simple: a scraper, a small saw, a heating plate. Grant had worked with many students. He had seen many projects, but something about this human girl made him pay attention. "The bone will be ready for work tomorrow," Emma said. Grant nodded. He had seen determination before. This girl had it. That night, Emma worked alone in her quarters. Her roommate was Lyra, but Lyra was at a study group. Emma had the space to herself. She spread the bone out and began scraping. Her hands moved over every surface. She removed tissue and fat. She worked slowly and carefully. The bone was old. That was good. Old bone was harder than new bone. This bone had come from a large animal that had lived for many years. The bone was dense. The bone was strong. By the time Lyra returned, Emma had cleaned most of the bone. "You are working hard," Lyra said. "Yes," Emma said. She did not stop working. "I need to understand the bone first. If I do not understand it, I cannot shape it." Lyra sat on her bed and watched. "Says your project will fail. He says bone cannot hold a real edge. He says you waste time." "Does not know about bone," Emma said. "Knows about metal and war. He does not know about survival." "What is the difference?" Lyra asked. Emma put down the scraper. She looked at the girl. "War is about power. You have better weapons, you win. Survival is about understanding. You understand your materials, you survive. It is different thinking." Lyra was quiet for a long time. "I did not know this," she said finally. The next day, Emma continued her preparation. She studied the bone's structure under magnification. She could see lines running through it. The lines showed how the bone had grown. They showed where it was strong and where it was weak. Emma made sketches of her blade design. She drew it over and over. Each drawing was different. She tested different shapes on paper, different lengths, different widths. Finally, she drew a blade that felt right. It was long but not too long. It was curved slightly. The edge was thin but not fragile. In the library, Emma found more information. She found records of human swords made thousands of years ago. These swords had been tested. They had held up against advanced alloys from visiting civilizations. The humans who made them understood their material completely. By the end of the first week, Emma had prepared the bone completely. It was clean and dry. She had treated it with oils that would make it stronger. She had mapped out her entire process. She knew what she would do. She knew how long each step would take. Saw her carrying supplies back to her quarters one afternoon. He was curious, was a scientist. Science meant understanding things that seemed impossible. "You have done extensive preparation," said. "Yes," Emma replied. "Most students begin working immediately," said. "They experiment. They adjust their design as they work. You are different." "I have to know the answer before I start," Emma said. Humans do not have the resources to experiment. If we make a mistake, we waste everything. So we plan, we understand, we build. Made a thinking expression, his purple skin brightened slightly. That is logical, he said, different but logical. Emma felt small. She was still the only human, but did not look at her like she was primitive. He looked at her like she was interesting. Watched from across the courtyard, he was with other students. When he saw Emma and talking, his face changed. Did not like humans. The culture taught that advanced species were superior. Humans were primitive. But something was strange about this human girl. She was quiet. She was planning. She was not trying to prove herself like weaker students did. She was just working. She will fail, said to the other. Bone is not a weapon material, it is practice. Even her preparation shows she does not understand real materials. But inside was not certain. He had learned that humans were dangerous in ways that were hard to understand. They were tough. They survived things that should have killed them. They had a kind of strength that came from somewhere else, not from power, from something deeper. The night before the actual forging would begin, Emma sat with her bone in her quarters. She held it. She felt its weight. She closed her eyes and thought about her ancestors, the humans who came before, the humans who had survived on a harsh world with nothing but their own minds and hands. Lyra came in and found Emma like this. "You are ready?" Lyra asked. Emma opened her eyes. "Yes," she said. "Tomorrow we begin." Workshop was full of heat and noise. All the students had arrived and their projects had started, worked with pure steel. His furnace burned hot and blue. He moved with exact precision. Each hammer strike was perfect. His movements were efficient and cold. Worked with crystal grown in the Academy's labs. His material was flawless and clear. He shaped it with laser tools. The crystal bent light in beautiful ways as he worked. His blade would be a work of art. Everyone could see that. Other students worked with materials Emma did not recognize. Metal from distant worlds. Alloys that sparkled. Materials that cost more than Emma had seen in her entire life. Emma stood at her workspace with her bone. The furnace she had chosen was old. It was used for basic heating work. Most advanced students did not use this furnace. It was too simple for them. Vex walked around the room. He watched each student. He said nothing. He only observed. When he came to Emma's workspace, he stopped. Emma was placing the bone into the furnace carefully. Her hands were steady. She had marked the bone with small lines. She knew exactly how long to heat it and how hot it could go. "You begin?" Vex asked. His voice made soft sounds like wind through crystals. "Yes," Emma said. She did not look away from her work. "You chose this furnace deliberately," Vex said. It was not a question. "It gives slow, even heat," Emma said. "That is what I need." Vex made a soft sound. It might have been agreement. Then he moved away to watch other students. The first heating began. Emma watched the temperature carefully. The bone changed color as it warmed. It went from yellow-white to pale brown. She watched for the moment when the surface would start to darken. That was her signal to remove it. When the moment came, Emma pulled the bone out using metal tongs. She set it on a stone surface to cool. She did not rush. She let the heat release slowly into the air. Saw this and made his laughing sound again. "She heats it and cools it," he said loudly. "Like it is bread, not metal, like she is cooking." Some other students looked up from their work. A few made similar sounds. Laughter. Emma ignored them. She had expected this. The cooling took time. Emma used the waiting period to prepare her tools. She had gathered bone-shaping tools from the Academy's storage. Tools that looked primitive next to the laser devices and quantum shapers that other students used. But Emma knew these tools were right for her work. When the bone had cooled completely, Emma began working the edge. She used a stone with rough texture. She moved the bone against it in careful, rhythmic motions. Dust came off the bone. The dust was white and fine. This work was slow. This work took patience. Emma had been taught patience by her ancestors. Humans had learned patience over millions of years of survival. An hour passed, 2 hours, Emma's hands moved. The edge of the bone began to change. It became sharper, it became harder. By the end of the first day, Emma had completed only the initial heating and the beginning edge work. The other students had already made progress that looked more impressive, had shaped his blade completely, had cut his crystal down to basic shape. Emma did not compare herself to them. She could not. She was working with different material. She was using different methods. The only thing that mattered was whether her bone blade would work. That night, Emma could not sleep. She lay in her quarters and thought about the next steps. Tomorrow, she would heat the bone again. This time, the heating would be different. The bone would be harder now. Harder bone needed different treatment. Day 2 began the same way. Heat, cool, rest, work the edge, then heat again. Emma entered a rhythm that felt almost like meditation. Her hands knew what to do. Her mind could watch and think. On day 3, something unexpected happened. A crack appeared in the bone. Emma saw it in the morning light, a thin crack running down the side of the blade. Her heart felt heavy. She had made a mistake. The bone was too delicate. It was breaking under her work. She stood at her workspace and stared at the cracked bone. Other students were making progress, real progress, visible progress, and Emma had broken her material. Lyra appeared beside her. "The crack?" Lyra asked. Emma nodded. She did not speak. "Is the blade ruined?" Lyra asked. Emma picked up the bone. She looked at the crack carefully. The crack was in a place that had already been weaker. She had marked that place in her initial study. She had known it was a weak point. "No," Emma said slowly. "This is good." Lyra made a surprised expression. "How is a crack good?" Emma moved the bone carefully. The crack opened slightly, then closed. The bone was flexible. The crack showed that the bone had give. It could bend instead of shattering. That was strength, not weakness. "Now I know the bone's true limit," Emma said. "Now I know how far I can push it. Now I can work correctly." Emma heated the crack carefully. The bone joined back together. The crack sealed. She let it cool, then continued her work. By the end of the week, Emma's blade was beginning to look like something real. It was not beautiful like crystal blade. It was not impressive like perfect steel. But it had something else. It had presence. It had weight. It had a feeling of purpose. Vex examined it one morning. He picked it up carefully. He felt the balance. He looked at the edge. He said nothing, but Emma saw something in his crystal body. The colors inside him changed. They shifted in a way that looked like thinking. The second week passed. Emma continued her process. Heat, cool, work, sharpen, rest. Each day the blade became more itself. Each day Emma understood it better. She began making tiny adjustments. She realized that one side needed to be slightly thicker than the other. She adjusted. She realized that the curve needed to be deeper. She adjusted. These small changes took her deeper into understanding. By the end of week 3, the blade was nearly complete. Emma had removed all unnecessary material. The bone was hardened completely. The edge was sharp. The balance was perfect. On the last day of week 4, Emma held her finished blade. It was lighter than she had expected, but heavier than thought bone should be. It was simple, but not crude. It was a real weapon made from an animal's bone. She looked at her blade and saw all the work. She saw all the choices. She saw something that no one in this academy had expected a human to create. The next day, everyone would bring their finished blades to the evaluation. Emma was not nervous. She had done her work. She had understood her material. She had built something true. Nothing else mattered now. The blade was done, and it was perfect. The evaluation chamber was different from the workshop. It was formal and cold and clean. Long tables held testing equipment. The students placed their finished blades on display platforms. Vex stood at the front with 2 other instructors from the academy. They had come to see what this class had created. Presented first, his blade was stunning. It was silver and perfect, not a single flaw, not a single mark. He had used ancient sword techniques. The blade was shaped for maximum cutting power. The edge looked like it could slice through anything. Vex examined it carefully. He tested the weight. He looked at the balance. "Excellent work," Vex said. His voice showed approval. "This is a weapon made with understanding. The metal responds perfectly to your design. Strong work. Your blade will be registered in the Academy records." Stood with pride. His forearms seemed taller. This was what he had expected. This was what a master blade looked like. Presented next, his crystal blade was beautiful beyond measure. The light moved through it in patterns of blue and gold. It was shaped like a sword, but it was clearly artwork. It was clearly science. "Remarkable," one of the other instructors said. "How did you create the internal light channels?" Explained his process. He had grown the crystal in special conditions. He had shaped it with mathematical precision. Every curve was planned. Every angle was calculated. "The light channels also direct energy," explained. "If activated, the blade can cut with increased efficiency." The instructors made approving sounds. This was clearly advanced work. This was clearly superior to a simple blade made with primitive methods. Other students presented their blades. Each was impressive. Each showed technical skill and advanced knowledge. The academy had trained them well. Then Vex looked toward Emma. "Come forward," he said. Emma walked to the center of the chamber. Her bone blade was small in her hands. It was pale. It was simple. It looked like nothing compared to the metal and crystal blades that had been presented before it. Made a sound. He was holding back laughter. This was what the human girl had created. Bone. After 4 weeks of preparation and work, she had created a blade that looked like it came from a primitive graveyard. Emma placed the blade on the presentation platform. She said nothing. She waited. Vex moved forward. He picked up the bone blade carefully. He turned it in his hands. His crystal body became still. The colors inside stopped moving. The silence lasted a long time. Finally, Vex began to examine the blade. He felt the weight. He tested the balance by spinning it slowly. He looked at the edge with intense focus. Then he did something unexpected. He took the blade to the testing equipment. The testing chamber had materials designed to measure blade performance. Hardened steel plates, reinforced ceramic, materials made to test weapons. Vex took the bone blade and drew it across a steel plate. Everyone expected the bone to break or shatter. The bone was fragile. It could not possibly cut through steel. But it did. The bone blade cut a deep mark into the steel plate. The blade did not break. The blade did not shatter. The blade cut through like the steel was nothing. The room became silent. Everyone was watching. Vex tested the blade against ceramic. The same result. The bone cut cleanly. The blade remained perfect, not even a chip on the edge. Then Vex did something that surprised everyone. He twisted the blade. He bent it deliberately. The bone bent. It did not break. When he released it, the blade returned to perfect shape. It was unharmed. "This is impossible," said. His voice was flat. He did not understand. Vex turned to face the class. His crystal body had colors moving again. Rapid colors, excited colors. "This blade was created using techniques that have been lost for 5,000 years, Vex said. His voice was clear and definite. "These techniques come from civilizations that advanced humans encountered and surpassed. The knowledge was preserved in academic records but rarely applied. This human girl has recreated it. She has created a blade that is superior to advanced materials. Superior, not equal, superior." Emma felt the attention of every person in the room. She did not move. She did not speak. Vex continued. "The bone has been layered through repeated heating and cooling. The crystalline structure has been reorganized through this process. The result is a material that is stronger than the individual components. This is not primitive work. This is advanced understanding applied in a way that appears simple. This is the highest form of craftsmanship." He held up the blade. "This blade will be tested by the Academy's senior instructors. I predict it will be registered as one of the finest weapons created in the Academy in the last 10 cycles. His expression changed. He was looking at Emma with different eyes. This girl had not used the best materials. She had not used the best tools. She had used understanding. She had used knowledge. She had created something superior. Was angry. Emma could see it in his face. Humans were not supposed to create superior weapons. Humans were not supposed to create anything superior. One of the visiting instructors came forward. She was an older female. She took the bone blade from Vex and examined it. Her large hands were careful. "I recognize these techniques," they said. "My people used them before we had advanced metals. We thought the knowledge was lost. Many of our young believed that old methods are always inferior, but they were wrong." She looked at Emma. "You have given us something important. You have shown that understanding is more powerful than resources." Emma felt something change inside her. She was not primitive, she was not inferior, she was different, and different had created something better. Vex turned to the other students. "This does not mean your blades are poor," he said firmly. "Your blade is excellent, your blade is beautiful and advanced. Every blade in this room shows skill, but there are types of skill. There is skill with resources, there is skill with knowledge. Both matter, both are valuable, but knowledge that creates from limitation is rarer. It is more difficult. This student has demonstrated it." Then Vex looked directly at Emma. "You will remain for advanced study. You will teach these techniques to other students who wish to learn. You will help us preserve knowledge that was almost lost. You will help us understand something that we have forgotten." Emma felt her hands shake. She had come to this academy expecting to be ignored, expecting to be seen as inferior. She had come with her bone blade and her human knowledge, and it had been enough. It had been more than enough. Lyra was smiling. She was happy for Emma. Was not smiling. He was thinking about everything he believed, about what superior meant, about whether he had been wrong about humans all along. The evaluation ended. The students left with their blades, but Emma remained in the chamber with Vex and the visiting instructors. They wanted to know everything. They wanted to understand. They wanted to learn. Emma told them about her, about how humans had to understand their materials or die, about how limitation created knowledge, about how her ancestors had survived on a harsh planet by learning what could be done with what was available. The instructors listened. They recorded. They took notes. By the time Emma left the chamber, everything was different. The Academy knew now that humans had knowledge worth learning. The Academy knew that primitive did not mean inferior. The Academy knew that Emma was not a burden. She was a teacher. She walked back to her quarters carrying her bone blade. The blade caught the station's light. The bones seemed to glow. Lyra was waiting for her. "You were perfect," Lyra said. "No," Emma said. "The bone was perfect. I just listened to it." And that was the truth. Emma had not created something new. She had found what was already there, waiting to be 1 month after the evaluation. Emma stood in front of a new class. The workshop was full of students from different species. Humans, even a few crystalline beings like Vex. They had all come to learn bone forging from the human girl who had created an impossible blade. The Academy had changed its records. It had changed its curriculum. Students who had studied for years were now asking Emma questions. The girl who had been ignored at the beginning of the semester was now a teacher. Was in the back of the new class. Emma noticed him immediately. He had requested to study under her. At first, Emma thought he was there to prove her wrong, but was different now. He was here to learn. Pride could accept understanding from someone who had proven their skill, had proven himself in combat many times. Emma had proven herself in creation. That was equally valuable. "Bone forging is not about forcing the material," Emma explained to the class. "It is about understanding. Every bone is different. Every animal that provided the bone lived differently. The bone remembers this. The bone has patterns. If you understand the patterns, the bone will tell you what it wants to become." A young male raised his hand. "That sounds like magic," he said. "How can bone tell you anything?" "It is not magic," Emma said. She held up her own bone blade, the blade that had changed everything. "Look at the structure. See these lines? These are the growth patterns of the animal. This animal was strong. This animal survived. The bone carries that strength. When you heat and cool the bone, you align these patterns. You make them stronger. The bone does not tell you in words. It tells you through its structure." Emma placed a piece of bone on the heating plate. "Watch," she said. "I will heat this for exactly 3 minutes. I know this because I have done it many times. I have learned the pattern." The class watched as Emma worked. She heated the bone. She cooled it in special water. She examined it. The surface had changed. It had darkened. It had hardened. "See," Emma said, "the bone has changed, not because I forced it, because I understood what it needed." Lyra was also in the class. She had changed her study focus. She was now studying human ancient techniques alongside advanced science. She was learning that both approaches had value. Attended some of the sessions. He was studying how the bone's crystalline structure changed through Emma's process. He was writing a paper. The paper would show how traditional methods produced results that advanced technology could not easily replicate. "The issue is efficiency," explained to Emma one afternoon. "Advanced technology is efficient, but efficiency sometimes means missing possibilities. Your methods take time, but the time reveals things that speed would hide." Emma nodded. She had not thought about it in these words, but was right. 3 weeks into teaching, Emma received a message. The Academy's highest leadership wanted to meet with her. They wanted to discuss creating a permanent department, a department for studying human traditional techniques. They wanted Emma to lead it. Emma sat in the Academy's main office. The room was vast and made of crystal. Representatives from all the major species were present. The commander, the scholar council, the crystalline being elder, the colony representative. "We have made a mistake," the commander said. His voice was harsh and honest. "We believed that advanced technology was the only path to excellence. We believed that primitive species had nothing to teach us. This was incorrect. You have proven this. The scholar nodded. We have reviewed all records of human accomplishments before contact with advanced civilizations. The humans who created your techniques were not primitive. They were sophisticated. They understood their materials at a level we are only now beginning to appreciate. We wish to offer you a position, the crystalline being elder said. Head of the Human Knowledge Initiative. You would study human techniques. You would train other species. You would help us recover knowledge that was nearly lost. Emma felt something she had not expected to feel at the academy. She felt needed, not as a human being who had to prove herself, but as a person who had something important to contribute. I accept, Emma said. Her voice was steady. The meeting ended. Emma walked back through the academy's corridors. News had spread. Other human students were already arriving. 3 new humans had enrolled for the next semester. They wanted to study under Emma. They wanted to learn human techniques. In the workshop, Emma found working alone. He was attempting to create a bone blade using her methods. His work was slow and careful. For a warrior, this was difficult, worked fast and decisively. Patience was not natural for them. How is your blade coming? Emma asked. Looked up, he did not answer immediately. Then he said, I understand now why you are superior. Emma made a small expression of disagreement. I am not superior, she said. I have different knowledge, that is all. No, said he placed his bone down carefully. You are superior because you do not need to be superior. You work for excellence, not dominance. This is rare. He looked at his unfinished blade. I have spent my life trying to be the best warrior, the strongest fighter, the most skilled, but you have shown me something else. You have shown me that skill matters more than strength, that understanding matters more than power. Emma sat beside the warrior. She said, humans are not the strongest, predators are stronger. Humans survived by being clever, by understanding, by working together. We learned that strength alone loses to intelligence. We learned that community wins against power. Was quiet for a long time. My people have warriors who could defeat any creature on any planet, he said. But we have never learned to create. We have learned to destroy. Your people create even with limitation. This is more difficult than destruction. Yes, Emma said, it is. 3 months passed. The Human Knowledge Initiative grew. Students arrived from across the galaxy. Some wanted to learn bone forging. Some wanted to learn other human techniques. Stone shaping, plant working, food preparation that created tools and shelter. The academy had changed. No longer was primitive seen as inferior. Primitive was seen as foundational. Primitive showed the truth of materials. Advanced built on top of primitive, but without primitive, advanced was meaningless. Emma sat in her new office and looked at the records of all the students she had trained. Learning patience. Learning to value practical skill. Crystalline beings learning to shape materials through understanding instead of through calculation. On her desk was her bone blade, the blade that had started everything. She picked it up sometimes and remembered the night before the evaluation. The night when she had been just another student trying to prove she belonged. Lyra arrived one afternoon with something to show Emma. She had created her own bone blade using Emma's techniques, but Lyra had modified them. She had combined bone forging with light working. The result was a blade that was beautiful and sharp and strong. You taught me that different approaches have value, Lyra said. I wanted to try combining them. Emma examined the blade. It was perfect. It was Lyra's own creation. It showed understanding gained from learning multiple techniques. This is excellent, Emma said. She was not just saying words. This blade was truly excellent. That night, Emma went to the Academy's high observation deck. From there, you could see the whole station. You could see the 3 planets below. You could see the vast space beyond. Emma thought about where she had started, a human girl from a harsh world, a student no one expected to succeed, a person everyone assumed was primitive. Now she was a teacher. Now she was a leader. Now other species came to her to learn. But it was not about proving humans were superior. It was about showing that different was valuable. That limitation created beauty. That understanding mattered more than power. Emma held her bone blade up to the starlight. The bone seemed to glow. The blade that should have failed. The blade that proved that anything was possible if you understood your material and respected its nature. She thought about her ancestors, the humans who had survived on a harsh world, the humans who had created with what they had, the humans who had understood that working within limits created strength. Emma carved a small mark into the handle of her blade. A human symbol, a marking that said she had been here, that said she had created, that said she had made a difference. The mark would last. Long after Emma left the academy, long after she returned to her people, this blade would remain. This blade would show that a human girl had walked this station, that she had learned, that she had taught, that she had changed the way an entire galaxy saw primitive species. As Emma returned to her quarters, she saw in a corridor that was still working on his bone blade, still learning patience, still trying to understand what bone wanted to be. Saw Emma and raised his hand in a greeting, not a warrior's greeting, a scholar's greeting, a student greeting his teacher. Emma returned the greeting. The academy had changed. The galaxy was beginning to change, and it had all started with a human girl and her bone. The legacy continued, the knowledge continued, the understanding continued. And in the workshop, new students worked with bone every day, learning the truth that Emma had discovered. That strength comes not from what you have, but from understanding what you have. That mastery comes from patience. That the greatest weapons are forged not in advanced facilities, but in the meeting between understanding and material. Emma had forged a blade, but she had also forged something larger. She had forged a new way of thinking, a new respect for the ancient and the simple, a new understanding that everywhere in the galaxy there was knowledge worth learning. The girl from the head succeeded, not by becoming like everyone else, but by remaining herself and showing that herself was enough. It was more than enough. It was exceptional. She had understood what the bone wanted to be. She had let it become itself. That night Emma slept better than she had in weeks. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Tomorrow would bring new work, but Emma was no longer alone at the academy. She was no longer the girl everyone underestimated. She was the human who had forged a blade from bone and created something impossible. She did not know that tomorrow would change everything. She did not know that other students were beginning to wonder. She did not know that Instructor Vex was already watching her more carefully than the others. Emma only knew that she had bone and skill and the knowledge of her people. That would have to be enough. The recycling center has many materials, Lyra said. Come, I will show you. The two girls left the workshop. Watched them go. He still had that look like he was laughing, but was thinking, looked at the place where Emma had stood. He was wondering. Perhaps the human girl knew something they did not. Later in the recycling center, Emma found what she needed. Large bones from the academy's food stores. They were thick and hard and old. She picked the biggest one. It was a rib bone from some large animal. She held it in her hands and felt its weight. This will work, she said. Lyra looked at the bone, then she looked at Emma. Yes, she said, I think it will. Emma carried the bone back to her quarters. She did not know how to turn bone into a blade, but she knew how to learn. She knew how to watch and think and try. She was human. Humans survived. Humans found ways. The assignment had started. Everything would change because of this bone.